If you're in Puerto Vallarta looking for the perfect day trip out of the city, then I highly recommend going to Quimixto. It has everything. It's just a short walk through the city up to the falls from the water taxi dock, and a short walk back to the beach where there's lots of clubs to grab lunch. If you don't want to walk, they can take you up by horse or four-wheeler. At the falls, you can swim or jump off the cliffs into the water. At the beach, you can also swim, and we were fortunate enough that the tide was high and the surf was right, so we got to see a lot of surfers performing a lot of tricks. For the people who want to hike, you can head on back from Quimixto to Las Animas, where you can catch a water taxi to Boca, or you can directly go back to the same dock that you came in on in Quimixto and grab your water taxi there. And best of all, you can do this yourself or use a tour operator. In this video, I'll show you how you can do it yourself. And the first step in doing it yourself is to grab a bus at the corner of Constitution and Paseo Video. And the cost for the bus is only 10 pesos. The buses come and go every 10 minutes, and they leave this corner, which is the starting point, and they go to Boca de Tomatlan, which is the end point, and that's where they drop you off, and that's where you'll also pick it up to return back to Puerto Vallarta. For this trip, I recommend you bring your bathing suit, some shoes that you don't mind getting wet, or some walking sandals, and a towel, of course. Falls and the beach club have some change rooms, and they also have washrooms. Both locations, you can grab something to eat and drink, but if you want to bring your own lunch, you can pick it up right in front of the buses. There's a lot of people selling tamales and sandwiches and so forth. The bus ride will take you about 25 to 35 minutes, depending on how many people are on the bus. The bus is routinely very busy in the morning because they're dropping off people at the resorts and beach clubs where they have to go to work, but about 10 minutes into the trip, you'll probably be able to find a seat to sit down. But the ride can be a little windy. There's not really bumpy, but you do need to hang on. Love taking the bus because it's a very scenic trip right along the ocean. And traveling with the locals is always a lot of fun. They're very friendly, and if you have any questions, just ask. They're more than pleased to help out because they really like their town. And tourism is such a big component of the local economy. Everybody's in support of it. So the bus will pull off the highway at the Pueblito of Boca de Tomatlan, and it'll circle around back to the highway. It'll stop, and from there you're just going to proceed down the hill until you reach the basin where there's some a freshwater stream actually, and check out all the boats there, and then proceed to the dock where you can grab your boat. Now there'll be people down there trying to sell you tickets, but I recommend you just go right to the dock and you buy your boat fare or boat ride right at there. There's always people asking you where you're going, and they'll probably give you a better price. Additionally, if you buy a boat ticket, then you have to wait for a specific boat to pick you up, and that could take a little while. So I like going right to the dock where you see the boat right there, and they're willing to take you immediately right to your destination. The more people you have, the less time you're going to have to wait because they want to get as full as possible before heading out. Guys who were selling tickets wanted to charge us 120 pesos each way. We always only buy a ticket one way because it leaves us with a lot of flexibility in terms of coming back. But when we got to the dock, we were able to negotiate a deal of only 100 pesos per person. The town of Boca de Tomatlan is absolutely beautiful. It's a destination all its own. They have lots of beach clubs and a beach that you can hang out for the day. But we wanted to go to Quimixto, and in order to do that, we just had to proceed on down the hill and then make it to the dock. But before doing that, I wanted to show my friends here what the inner bay looks like, where all the water taxis and fishing boats are stored. It's actually quite picturesque. And then we headed on over to the dock where we grabbed our water taxi. Yeah, there's a pharmacy everywhere. Every corner. And an OXXO. There's washrooms right here. Yes, we're going to take a water taxi to Quimixto. So this is the inner harbor of Boca de Tomatlan, and they store all the boats here out of the ocean. It's a lot calmer, obviously, so it's well protected. So after a quick look here, we headed off down to the dock so that we could grab our water taxi. Along the way, you'll be asked by multiple people if you want to ride, but I always find it best to get somebody right off the dock, because if you book one here, then you have to wait for them to bring their boat around. I'm going to get it right off the dock. The last time I had to wait too long. Go this way. Can we get that? Oh yeah, the beach is open, I think. Sometimes it's high tide and you can't go this way. Well, because the water is right up to the rock. We have to, it's high. We'll go up this way. See the pelicans in the tree there? Are you going to Quimixto? Quimixto? How much do you charge? How much do you charge to go to Quimixto? 100 pesos a person? Okay, perfecto. Just be careful we get in. The coast over on your left-hand side is beautiful. So the water taxi ride over to Quimixto is between 10 and 15 minutes long, depending on the conditions. Today we had some pretty flat water to go through, and it was a nice sunny day, so it was a real pleasure just cruising along the coast of the Bay of Banderas, checking out all the beach clubs and the rocky coastline. A very great way to start our little hike up to the waterfalls and the village of Quimixto. Along the way, the water taxi stopped at Las Animas to make a delivery, and then we were on our way to the next stop. The next major stop is Quimixto, but if you want, you can always ask the driver to drop you off at the beach right in front of one of the beach clubs. As we were coming into the beach club area of Quimixto, we noticed that the surf was up and the surfers were out. So that meant it was not possible to go into a beach club directly. So we headed to the main dock. But we're looking forward to coming back to this beach club after we visit the falls so we can watch the surfers. And here we are pulling into the main dock in Quimixto, and from here we need to hike approximately 2 kilometers or 1.25 miles to the falls. It's quite an easy hike, but there is one suspension bridge you can cross over unless you decide to walk through the water rather than the bridge, and the water is generally no higher than knee deep. And then most times it's only about ankle deep, and it's a very easy hike to do, as half the path has been paved to the falls. So 1 kilometer is paved to the falls, and the other half is a dirt track. And if you want to make your life even easier, you can grab a four-wheeler here or rent a horse, and they'll take you directly to the falls. Once you exit your water taxi, you're going to walk along the dock, and it'll take you right through the town. And once you get to the very end of the town, you'll find a suspension bridge to go over the river there. And then essentially you're going to be following the river way up to the falls.
I already love this. Yeah, this is so much fun. I can't wait to play Joe and Lay.
Are you ready?
We're ready.
Hola.
Hola, bienvenidos a Quimixto. Welcome to Quimixto.
That's very nice. Look at this beautiful house here, our church.
Church.
About 3 years ago, it was a lot quieter, and now they're making it, a lot of tours are coming here, so they've actually paved the path halfway there. Yeah, which I don't like it as much, because it used to go through these wandering, like, horse trails.
Yeah.
And it was so much nicer, so much more interesting, but it's still very nice. We got a tour going on right here.
Yeah. You guys ready?
We're ready. Well, we're doing it ourselves. Are you Andy?
I'm not. I'm Jack.
You're Jack. Hello.
It's Andy's day off.
It's a little bit early. It's too early to drink for me.
Did you know?
Well, this is where you rent your horses if you want them.
Oh yeah, 16. No, that wasn't a quad.
Hola, amiga.
Yes.
Yep, you get your feet wet if you're going across the water. Now, water's higher than normal. Normally they'll have sandbanks and planks once the water levels go down. Well, here we go. Watch your step, there's a few holes.
Watch your step. Don't do that.
You can do it!
I'm going. No, you can get some wherever you want. Well, we were up there because they were moving the thing. It was, you guys were moving it, huh? I knew it. I knew you guys were moving it.
So 2 years ago, this was all just a dirt path, right? So it was so simple, but they paved it halfway to make it more accessible, because there's a lot of tour groups coming through here now.
You guys don't even know the difference between a donkey and a horse? Oh, brother.
That horse is so little though.
Oh, that's a horse. Yeah.
After a short distance, after you pass over the river, you'll come across the river again, and we have to cross it for one more time, and there'll be a third crossing right at the falls. So again, the water's not very deep here. It's a sandy bottom, so you can walk across it. But if you want to keep your feet dry until you get to the falls, you need to walk across this little plank bridge.
The board, maybe it's more stable that way. Oh, yeah. If a Canadian can do it, an American can do it.
What word?
There you go. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
I know, definitely one.
This is good.
Well, that's what you get to swim in.
I am. I felt exactly like a ballerina.
Okay, we're gonna go this way. Oh.
That way.
There's a lot of fish actually in the water, and there's you'll see I've seen like a freshwater shrimp here and a frog even.
There's just a lot of fish in this water. Actually.
Yeah.
I'm eating shrimp.
It's nice about coming this early because there's so many horses that come in here. They've cleaned it up, so hopefully we won't have to dodge around horse poop. So it used to be all like this.
Oh, we just keep going up and up.
Already complaining. Tough crowd. As I said earlier, the total hike from the pier where you get off your water taxi to the falls is under 2 kilometers or 1.25 miles. And the toughest part by far is this ascent up this hill. It's only a couple hundred meters long. It's not that steep, but if you're not in shape or you haven't walked that much recently, you might find it a bit of a challenge, but there's lots of time to take breaks. And as I said, it's just a little bit of pain for a lot of gain. Now, before they paved the road here, they had all these little pathways for the horses and the waters to run through, like this one here. I'm just going to show you what it used to be like 2 years ago. This winding track used to weave back and forth, and there was actually a couple of them, so they would cross over one another. But because they were getting a lot more tourists, I should say, they wanted to make it a lot easier, so they put a path right through the middle of this little section here. So now you're almost to the top of the hill, and once you're there, you've completed the most strenuous portion of the hike. At this point, you're approximately 1 kilometer into the hike, and you only have 1 kilometer to go. There's coates out here. I found an alligator lizard out here.
Did you?
Yeah, it's the only one I've ever seen. He was right on the trail. He was like about
2 feet long, it seemed like, but his tail was about half his body length.
Oh yeah?
Never seen one before. I had to look him up to find out what it is.
Alligator lizard?
Yeah, looks pretty much exactly like an alligator.
Hey, is it married?
I don't know, I didn't grab him. Good. I said you can see the ocean behind you now. You've climbed Mount Everest.
So once you crest the top of this hill, you're going to come to a Y intersection where the pavement ends on your right. We'll be continuing along that path to go to the falls, but we're going to take a stop at the city graveyard. And to go there, you just need to go or bear to your left to the top of this little hill.
Are we going up or down?
We're going to go left first for a second, so you can see the graveyard. Then we're going to come back. But it is nice.
They put their hands on them.
Yeah, I like that. So this is where we just came from, and this is where we're going. So until 2 years ago, the whole path was like this. Much nicer.
Today, the temperature was getting up to 29 degrees C. I believe that's about 84 degrees Fahrenheit. And it is warm here even in the winter during the day when the sun is shining. So we always try to get our hikes in the morning, somewhere between like 8 and 10 o'clock. But having said that, when you're on the south coast, you have lots of trees and foliage around you, so you're in shade most of the time. So that's one of the nicest reasons, or one of the best reasons to hike the south coast. It's beautiful, but you're also in shade, so you don't really get all the heat from the sun here.
Probably on the way back, we'll see all the horses starting to come. There's a macaw up here somewhere.
I heard it. Oh, you can barely see it. Just two. So you come back?
Yeah. Where are they?
They're moving.
Oh,
You see right in the middle, you see the head, red.
Yeah, I see him there.
What bird is it?
It's a macaw. I got him. He's hiding up there, a blue one. At least the front is blue. That's cool. I don't know what the reasoning for. Some spots have rocks and others don't. Probably because I get rain or whatever and they don't want it to wash out.
Oh, yeah.
So here we are, just reaching another bend in the river. We have to cross over it and we'll be right at the falls. And they have a new restaurant on my left-hand side here, now my right, and we might want to try that in the future. But today we're planning to grab lunch at the beach, so we're just going to grab a drink at the falls here after we've had a swim. So what's nice about this lower section, there's a set of rapids below the falls, and there's always a pool of water here, and it's a great place to swim. There's no current, or very, very little current here this time of year, and this is December of 2024, but most of the time between December and April, there's a little current here. There's always water flowing, so it's nice and fresh, and the water temperature is just perfect to cool off in. So we just got to scramble up a set of stairs here, and then we'll see the falls. And right at the falls, they'll have a bathroom, change room, they have a bar, they also serve some food in a sitting area. And in order to use the sitting area, you need to buy something, and generally a few beers or a snack such as guacamole is more than sufficient. You gotta see the falls. Now, this particular location can get flooded out and destroyed. As you can see, they're right on the river here, and if there's a hurricane that comes close to Puerto Vallarta, a lot of times it doesn't come into the bay, but it drops a lot of the water in the mountains, and it rushes down this stream. So unfortunately, this restaurant has been destroyed many times, and the bridge has been taken out, so this family that runs it has to rebuild it, and the sign on the left basically explains all that. So they appreciate you being generous because they're constantly a state of rebuilding. When I was here about 5 years ago, they had a great bar and restaurant here, and unfortunately 3 years ago it was totally removed, and then just this past year they've rebuilt the bar, but they don't do much on the right hand side other than have an open sitting area. But it's the perfect place to sit down, have a beer, watch the falls, listen to the water go over it, and of course swim. And then what a lot of people do is you can climb up on the left hand side or the right hand side. They have some ropes, and you can jump off into the water as well. The right hand side I feel pretty confident about because it's fairly deep there. The left hand side not so much so, but I see people doing it all the time. Hola. So we arrived around 10:30, and we were the first people here, so they were just setting up their tables. I think actually they came up on their four-wheeler once they saw us going through the city. Normally between 11 and about 3 o'clock, this place can get very busy, and I expect that we'll see a whole bunch of tourists coming up on four-wheelers and horseback when we go back on our way back to the beach and trying to find a beach club to grab some lunch. This is one of my favorite falls in the area, probably because it's fairly deep at the falls and it's a lot of water, and it's one of the higher ones, and it's always active, a great place to swim. You can swim right up to it. You can jump off the cliffs. It's just really enjoyable, but the town of Quimixto is also wonderful. And the other part I like about it, they've got a couple of really nice beach clubs and a nice piece of sand to sit on, so it just makes for a really enjoyable day. So on the right-hand side, you can see there's a rope, and you can climb up, and there's a bit of a change from last year. You used to go up to this little ledge on the right-hand side there where he's standing beside, but it looks like a piece of rock has fallen out, or they chipped it out, and they've made a platform there to jump off. It's not very high, maybe 10, 12 feet high, and it's the water is fairly deep there, so it's a great place to climb up if you've got the arm strength to do it. And my friends decided to do exactly that. Now, I do recommend you wear shoes when you swim here, especially if you want to climb the rope, because you need the leverage, and sometimes the rocks are a little bit slippery. So in addition to jumping off the rocks into the water, you can also swim up to the base of the falls. There's actually a little ledge that you can pull yourself up and sit down on and get drenched by the splashing water. Now, early in the season, right after the rainy season, there's a lot of water going over here, and the current can be strong. But come December, right through April, probably into the midsummer, the current is not that strong, and it's easy to get there. And it's beautiful. Fresh water. Sometimes it can be a little bit chilly in January, February, but once you get in, it's quite refreshing, and especially on a hot, sunny day, it's a great way to relax and cool off. So if jumping off the rocks or swimming to the falls is not your thing, but you want to get into the water, the good thing to know is that there's a nice shallow area right beside the stairs that takes you down to the falls and into the water, and here it is, and it's only a few feet deep, and it has a sandy bottom. So you can sit down and wade through it. You can go right up to the bridge. There's also a lot of fish in the water here, so you can chase them around or just watch them, but it's a great place to sit down and relax and watch everybody else swim up to the falls or jump off the rocks while you keep cool. So my friend Manny here is climbing the rope. You need a lot of arm strength, and you need to use your feet to lean way back and then use your feet to basically leverage your way to the top. And I would say if you have running shoes, I would highly recommend using those. The rocks are a little bit slippery, therefore if you have shoes, you get a little bit more grip, and it just makes it that much more easy to get to the top.
Yeah!
Well, I hope you enjoyed our time at the falls here, but it's time to head on back to the beach and go to a beach club. We're going to head out to a club called El Volador, and it's about a 2-kilometer hike to the club. And that's where we'll grab some lunch and do a little bit of swimming. So to get to the beach club, you're going to return exactly the way you came, and just as you cross, or just after you cross the suspension bridge, you'll be taking your first right down another path. And that will take you directly to the beach clubs. A few twists and turns and another suspension bridge and you'll be there. It's about 1.2 kilometers or 3/4 of a mile to get there. It's a very easy hike.
Hola. Yeah. Yeah, parasite palm. Look right in the middle. So I'm going to take the bridge. There's a nice series of bougainvilleas there. So you have a choice, walk across the river or go across the suspension bridge. I'm going across the bridge this time. There used to be a restaurant on stilts right at the end of the bay here, but it's no longer there.
This little mural on the right-hand side is a great place to catch a picture. Looks like you have wings if you take a picture here. There seems to be a few turnoffs here, but there's signs that'll direct you to the beach club. There's really only one direct path, and I think one turn after the bridge, and it's the immediate right, and the only right that you have to go.
It's here. I think they're plantains, not bananas.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So once you see the restrooms for the El Volador Beach Club, that's where you turn down and you head directly to the beach. There's actually 2 beach clubs right here presently in 2024. One is called Charlie's to the right and El Volador to the left. Both are excellent, highly recommend both, but today we're going to go to El Volador and check them out.
Hola. Hola, amigo.
Here's the paradise.
We made it.
Welcome. Look, come on here. I look the resort, I look at the owner. This is my uncle Jimmy.
Hola, Jimmy.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien.
Sí.
Quimixto is an absolutely gorgeous beach town, and the beaches are best on the east side of the town. If you go to the falls, head on there for a great time. Quimixto is also well known for surfing, especially when it's high tide, and that's exactly the conditions we had today. So while we had lunch, we got to enjoy watching the surfers do all their tricks. The left-hand side of the beach here is where all the surfers go, because there's a little bit of reef there and rocks, and the water comes up very fast, creating these waves, so great for surfing. So if you want to swim, go on down to the beach to the right towards the rocks you see in the distance here and swim there. It's the best way or easiest way to get in the water and out as well. And it's a really nice spot, especially with the rocks here. It's very scenic. We're at the El Volador restaurant, and they gave us some salsa and chips on the house, and we grabbed some drinks, and we ordered our lunch. I ordered the coconut shrimp. My friend Manny had the shrimp Diablo, and then the rest of the table ordered ceviche. One ordered a whole fish that was cooked on an open flame barbecue. I can tell you everything was fantastic. Nothing better than grabbing a great lunch and a drink while sitting next to the ocean right after you do a hike. So let's now take a look at the beach. As I said earlier, the best beach in Quimixto is on the eastern side of it. It's not overly large, and there's only a certain section that's really suitable for swimming. The best time to swim is when it's low tide. You can get in and out of the beach or out of the water at high tide, but really only near the rocks at the far end. On the left-hand side is great for surfing, but as I said, there's a bit of a reef there, so I don't recommend swimming there. But on the right-hand side, it's especially at low tide, it's fairly calm water. It's nice and green and clear, just a pleasure to get in and out of. And this is where the water taxis will actually come and pick you up or drop you off. And if you're looking for a water taxi to take you back to Boca de Tomatlan, you can ask the owner of the restaurant, call you one. During this visit here, even under these conditions, they had no trouble bringing people in or taking them off the beach. Of course, if you're uncomfortable doing that, you can walk back about 1 kilometer, 0.75 miles to the pier and get picked up there. I really like this section of the beach. It's great for swimming. It's just so picturesque with all these rocks. And Quimixto, for the most part, is still a little bit undiscovered, and not a lot of people are coming to these clubs. This is actually the most people I've ever seen here. But it is getting more and more discovered because how picturesque and beautiful it is. These clubs are actually great, and there's probably going to be more clubs coming in the near future, but probably not as many as one would think, because there's only a limited amount of beach in the town that's actually very good for swimming. So speaking of water taxis, here's one coming in now, and some of the restaurant owners are actually coming out to help the people get off the boat and into their clubs. So this is Charlie's Beach Club, the other club that's on this section of the beach. It's closest to the rocks and the best swimming areas. Also great sitting areas, great place to eat, highly recommend it, as well as El Volador. You really can't go wrong with either location, and the prices here are actually fair. You got to remember that there are no roads coming into this place here, into Quimixto. Therefore, everything has to be brought in by boat, and that definitely adds expense to the owners. So after lunch, you need to make a decision. You can either grab a water taxi here, and you can just ask the owner of the restaurant to call you one, and they'll come right to the beach if the weather conditions or the wave conditions are correct. But if not, you can always go back to the pier, and that's about 1 kilometer away, and catch it there. You just wave one down, and they're always going back and forth, so you don't really need to book one in advance, and that gives you all the flexibility in the world to leave when you want. But your third option is to do a little more hiking, and that's what we did. We decided that we were going to hike from here to Las Animas and catch our water taxi there. This hike is actually quite easy to do. It's about 2 kilometers. To do it, and if you march at or walk at a steady pace, it'll only take you about an hour to do, and that includes taking short rest breaks so you can take some pictures and check out the scenery. So to start this hike, you immediately leave the beach club and go up back to the main trail and hang a left. You'll then have to pass through the ex-Nalani resort and make your way down to the beach. Now, this section of the beach, I think, is the most picturesque on the whole coast, the south coast that is. It's full of rocks, it's got a lot of interesting formations, and so I recommend you have your camera ready. It's just really nice to check out, and other than this one beach club on this section, is just perfect.
You got the perfect spot.
Yeah, the waves are coming all the way up here.
Yeah, I know, high tide right now. So normally at low tide you can go in between the rocks there and it's a fantastic picture.
Yeah.
But we'll take a quick look there, but we're going up this path to the right. See the iguanas up there on the rock?
Oh yeah, the black one?
Yeah. Isn't that spectacular?
Yeah. Nice.
Well, the next part of the hike is to actually go up this mountain trail. It's a little bit of an ascent, but once you're to the top, you're basically on the top of the cliffs along this mountain trail overlooking the ocean for your entire way to Las Animas. And at about 1.5 kilometers, you start a slow winding descent back down to the beach level in Las Animas. Fairly easy hike to do, and as I said, from the beach club, the El Volador, to where we were, it's only 2 kilometers, and it should take you less than an hour to get to Las Animas, where you can catch your water taxi. So the next section of video clips will just be different sections of the trail, so you have an understanding what you're up against if you decide to hike back from Quimixto to Las Animas. Highly recommended. It's not a difficult trail, and there's a lot of scenery to see and interesting landscapes. This little section is probably my favorite along the trail. Next to the beach section, it's an archway, a naturally formed archway due to erosion of the waves. You can walk pretty much all the way down to the ocean from here, but I like looking at it from the top and watching the waves roll under the archway. It's actually just very beautiful. And once you've made it to this point, you're about 0.5 kilometer away from Las Animas. So once you reach a part of the trail that has a house on it, you're very close to Las Animas. It's right on the outskirts, so we'll be descending to the beach momentarily. So here we are at the Las Animas beach, and it's probably the largest beach with the most beach clubs in all of the south coast. Las Animas is the most popular tourist destination for a day trip out of Puerto Vallarta, and it's because of all the beach clubs, the relatively flat beach here. It's easy to get to by a water taxi from the Los Mortos Pier, or you can do what a lot of people do. You can take the bus to Boca de Tomatlan and take a water taxi directly here. What we decided to do is just go directly to the pier and grab a water taxi there and head on back to Boca, because we spent basically the entire day enjoying Quimixto. But we'll do a short walk down the beach here right to the pier, and I'll give you an idea if Las Animas is a place that you would like to go to. So right in the middle of the beach, you're going to see tons of beach clubs. If you eat at the restaurants here, again, like Quimixto, you're allowed to use their lounge chairs. They appreciate if you can keep buying drinks, of course. And the pier where you can get your water taxi is right at the center of the beach. But also, if you want to talk to the one of the beach club owners, they can call you on in, and they'll land right on the beach and pick you up from there. I've tried a lot of the different restaurants here, like them all, to be honest with you. There's really not a bad place, but the one I typically go to is on the other side of the pier here. It's called Las Conas. It's got 2 levels, and I like sitting up on the 2nd level, and you get a nice breeze up there. You're in the shade, and you get to look way down both sides of the beach. So we've already had lunch, and it was getting around 3:30 at close to 4 o'clock at this time. So we just decided to head on back to Boca de Tomatlan, and you'll find lots of people who will ask you right away if you want to ride. You can negotiate a deal, but typically it's about 100 to 120 pesos a person to go back to Boca de Tomatlan from here. And grabbing a water taxi back to Boca de Tomatlan, where you can survey the coast, especially if you hiked along this section, is the ultimate way to finish off the day. Just nice and relaxing, and if you're lucky, you can see a lot of boats and sometimes even a whale or dolphins. Today we weren't so fortunate, but the scenery was great, the weather was perfect, and it ended a perfect day for us. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And just as a reminder, once you disembark from your water taxi in Boca de Tomatlan, all you need to do is go up to the top of the hill to catch your bus back to Puerto Vallarta. It's only about a 5 to 10 minute walk at most, and the cost of the bus is 10 pesos, and they generally come around every 10 minutes. But oftentimes there's taxis and even Ubers there, and you can grab that if you're so inclined. Now, after watching this video, if you have any questions, just reach out to me, drop me a note on YouTube. I'm generally pretty responsive. I'll get back to you within a day or 2 at most. Anyways, I hope you enjoy your day. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And for lots of content on Puerto Vallarta and some of my adventures outdoors.
You made it.
No, señor. Animas.
Well, there we are. We're back. And here we are catching our bus back from Boca de Tomatlan all the way back to Puerto Vallarta.